Arsenal sought to make it 3 wins from 3 to start the 2023-24 Premier League season, but Marco Silva's men exposed Arsenal's defensive frailties at home to end their hosts' unblemished start. An early mistake from Bukayo Saka gifted Andreas Pereira the opening goal with less than a minute gone, but the Englishman redeemed himself from the penalty spot before Stunning Nketiah came off the bench to prod the Gunners ahead. Calvin Bassey's late sending-off would ostensibly help Arsenal on their way to another maximum point, but Arteta's men failed to deal with a Harrison Reed corner in the 87th minute, and Joao Palhinha picked out the far corner with a delicate half-volley to steal a point for the visitors. Let's go around the punditry world to hear what the experts are saying about why Arsenal shared the spoils with Fulham.
It has been tough, and actually Marco Silva has now picked up 3 yellow cards in his opening 3 games, so he misses the next match for Fulham, which is up against Manchester City, and that rule changed actually. It was 4 yellow cards last season, but now it's 3. But anyway, that aside, he will be delighted that his team got off to a fantastic start, Glenn.
Yeah, they did. I mean, immediately a goal within the first minute of the game. We see here really slack pass by Saka, who plays Pereira in, and I'm not sure he gets this right. I think he's looking to go over Ramsdale's left shoulder into the far corner, and I just think he gets it wrong. But fortunately for Fulham, he wrong-foots Ramsdale, who's trying to scamper back into his goal, and it finds the bottom left corner. But yeah, fortunate or not, Wrighty?
Well, you know something, it's again, when I saw it, I thought it was a clever finish, but then he doesn't seem to be putting enough power on it to go over him. And I think it's a very clever finish. I don't know,
Give him the benefit of the doubt.
I'm going to give it him, simply because he could have went a lot harder to go higher over the keeper. But the way he done it, I thought it's a very clever finish to be done. I'd like to know if he done that on purpose, because it's annoying me now.
We'll have to ask him.
You know what I mean?
But it's interesting from Arsenal's perspective, right? It's the 3rd time in 9 home games that they've conceded within 60 seconds.
Yeah, there does seem to...
worry?
A little bit, because I think that, like Glenn rightly said, there's a bit of sloppy play there. I think you need to tighten up at the start of games. I think Arsenal realise as well, with what they went through with City, that you can't give away points like that at home. I think they started very slack. I think the whole game, in fact, even the way the Fulham came back, there was a time when I was watching the game where I just felt nervous for us. We don't seem to be as confident as I thought we could have been in managing the game once we got back into it when it's 2-1 up. And I think that's a little bit of a worry, because there's things that happened, I know the fans are a little bit worried about Gabriel not playing. It gives us a solidity in there. And then when they score that goal at the death there and the corner, is something that our big defender will be there. So there's a little bit of gelling that's still happening with Arsenal, but we haven't lost, so you have to stay positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess we'll look through some of the other moments of the game, including the penalty incident for Arsenal, Glenn.
Yeah, for me, I mean, we see it here, don't we? What Tete is doing here is like... his teammates will be ripping him to shreds in the dressing room, because he's absolutely nowhere near the ball. You've worked so hard to stay in the game away at the Emirates, and he dives in here. And, I think Fabio Viera didn't even see him coming, so you can't even claim that he engaged the contact or anything. And then when he asked upon, Saka stepped up. He had to wait a long time to take that penalty shot. He showed a lot of character, especially after missing a few penalties pre-season.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Nketiah, he made it too.
Well, that's Jesus being injured again. I know he's come on today, but Eddie's coming in and he's got to try and do something simply to keep himself in the team. This is what he does. He's like a fox in the box striker. He'll get in there. He's right in amongst where it needs to be, and then that finishes somebody that knows exactly where he is in the middle of the goal. Knows he has to open his body out and then just let the pace of the ball take it in. It's a great goal. It's a great finish. Great ball in. I'm delighted for him, because
he's a great player.
Well, he could be. He just needs that run where he's because I believe he's 1 in 3 easily, no problem.
Yeah.
Depending on how ruthless he wants to be in the box. But is he going to ever get the time and is the manager going to have the patience with him to keep him in there and say, right, I'm going to leave you in there as a number 9 to score goals? I think if he carries on doing that, you can just have to knock the door. You have to keep knocking on the door, because he will score goals.
OK, well, Calvin Bassey was sent off after receiving 2 yellows, so then Paulinho struck, and this was the equaliser, Glenn.
I think it's what you mean, isn't it? Right, You're not killing games off when you've got yourself back in the game, back in front, and then to concede so late against Fulham with Fulham with 10 men. I mean, in all fairness, when this arrives at Paulinho's feet, it's a brilliant swivel and finish, and he leaves Ramsdale with absolutely no chance. But I think it caps a very disappointing afternoon for Arsenal, but like Marco Silva said at the end, it shows their soul and their character, and he'll be delighted with his players today.
I think that when you look at that one, Glenn Seamer, it's disappointing because the amount of bodies that's in there. He's come from deep there, you know, from the edge of the box, in and around that penalty spot. Who's going with him? Because we're talking about a stage of the game where, right, you need to like shut this down now. So who's marking who? You know what I mean? You know, there's no Gabriel, like I say, on the pitch to be that organiser. But I think that for somebody to have that free of a touch just on the 6-yard box, just in and around, it's not good enough. It's not good enough for what they know what they're going to have to do this season.
It was a clear mistake from the referee. Penalty for Brentford 2-0 and 10 men. This afternoon, if you see the first yellow card for Calvin is a joke. I have to say that the yellow card is a joke. Of course, we understand the not new rules, but new circumstances that we have been playing, and they are taking all the emotion from the game because it's going to protect the big clubs, because you have to see consistent in the decisions. And for sure, if a player from Fulham, from other club, came here at Emirates and take 10 seconds to 15 seconds to throw the ball in a throw-in or in a goal kick, will be yellow card. This player will be always under pressure because if make a foul, will be second yellow card. Good example this afternoon for Calvin. But the other clubs is not the same. And this station, if you see one of the first throw-ins for Partey on my side here on the touchline, close the touchline, it took much more time than Calvin the goal kick, much more time clear, and was not a yellow card. Why? Because they were losing the game. And because that I'm saying, you are not going to see consistent this type of situations, and it's going to be always not the big clubs that are going to suffer more. And we played this afternoon with 10 men. Again, that first yellow card is a joke. Because the ball from Berno come to Calvin, and Calvin put the ball on the grass, is going to play, yellow card. Where comes from that yellow card? And it's difficult for us to understand. If you try to create something in the training session, because it's our obligation to our players to be adapt, how we can adapt for these circumstances? Because you don't see the consistent. One time is, the other time is not this. Okay, is what it is. Let's talk about football because it's more important than the situation, because we cannot control, and more, we don't understand because no one listens us. And we knew that is going to happen already. I don't know how many red cards this afternoon again. I don't know. First 2 weeks of the season already 7, 8 yellow red cards. And I don't know what is going, because anytime clubs is going to play with 10 man against 11. And I think the fans, everyone wants 11 against 11 on the pitch. Just if the circumstances are really clear, one player should be sent off. This is clear.
Whole different range of emotions for you in the last few minutes of that game. Can you sum it up for us today?
Well, we gave them 1 goal straight away, and then obviously we make the game more difficult. But we dominated the game from start to finish. You deserve to win the game, but this is football. And so you can shoot 35 times, the opponent can shoot 1.5, and still lose the game, and that's what happened today. But with all the effort that we made, the situation we generated, chance to chance, the attitude of the boys, the way the subs came up, and you go 2-1 up, and then with 10 men the game is done, and you give a ball away, you give a corner, and then you have to defend that box with your life if you want to gain wins in the Premier League, and we didn't do that well enough.
We often hear coaches and managers say that football can be football, and that's what it is at times. But the 2 goals you concede today, are they preventable goals from your point of view?
Oh, for sure.
Where do you eradicate those sort of mistakes? Is that purely, as we talk every week, about training ground, about concentration?
Errors are part of football. It's the areas where you made them and you give yourself a chance to correct them, yes or no. And when you made them, when you are extremely open and they will give it out of the box and in the box, normally in this league you get punished.
Does this almost have the feel of a defeat about it today?
Sure, because, when you see the way the team plays, the team deserves to win the game. It doesn't matter if they score 2, 3 or 4. We need them to score 5, 6, 7 or 8, because what you generated here today, it's incredible, but this is this league. This is the quality of the points when you give them something, and we just need to look at ourselves today.
It's still a team that's emerging, and still a team with a lot of young and some still inexperienced players. Is this all part and parcel still of the Arsenal journey?
Every game is, and to find yourself and the best version of yourself, and every game brings you lessons and things to learn from, and for sure we'll take a lot from today's game.
What I do have to ask you is the transfer window remains open. You're not so much linked with players, but a lot of talk about the fact the club needs to perhaps raise as much as 100 million through sales. What's your view and understanding of that, and the likes of Fabio Barrigan going to Monaco?
It's but the window is still open, and you know that there are certain players that that we are close to finalising some deals. We can't announce anything yet, and when the right moment comes, we will.
Is it important for the club to move players on?
Well, obviously we have quite a lot of numbers of players right now, but we try to do the things in the right way and find places that players are going to fulfil as well their careers and dreams, which is important.
Mikel. To say the range of emotions you all went through in the final moments of that game swung one way, then another.
Yeah, obviously we did well to get back into it, take the lead, and obviously we gave it away with a sloppy goal to concede. So obviously they had 10 men as well, so we got to manage the game a lot better. So we learn from our mistakes and hopefully put it right next week.
How disappointed is the dressing room with that result, particularly as you point out there against 10 men?
Yeah, of course. I think obviously we controlled the game for most of the parts of the game, and obviously when you take the lead 2-1, you want to see it out. So yeah, obviously we're disappointed, as we should be, but we're focused on putting it right next week, recovering and going again.
Does this result, Eddie, underline the fact that this is an Arsenal side, and still a very young side, that is still learning at times, because there were elements of the performance today that we saw in some of the results last season that didn't go for you at times?
It's football for you. Obviously, we've got to keep improving, keep working. Obviously, we want to win every game. That's our aim. So, like we said, we have to learn from our mistakes and come again better next week.
Second goal of the season for you coming off the bench. The manager has said that players need to be flexible. Is that all part and part of being an Arsenal player now, that sometimes you're not guaranteed always to start?
Yeah, what can you do? You have to obviously play the role you're given. Obviously, I'm happy to come on and obviously help the team, but still disappointed, even though I got the goal, that we didn't get the 3 points.
It's still an unbeaten start to the season. How important is it you put this result behind you quickly with Manchester United up next?
Yeah, we're obviously a great group. We all stick together and we know where we went wrong. We're going to review it and learn from it, and then we're going to come back stronger and hopefully get 3 points against Man United.
3 games for Silva. He's on course for 38 in the whole season. It was a hard-fought point, wasn't it, really, for Fulham? Tremendous effort. Not for the first time since he joined the club. Paulinho, I think he was huge, Jonathan Pearce said, for them today.
Yeah, he was massive today for Fulham, and it's his first start this season, and I don't think they get that result without him. He was key to everything that they wanted to do with regards to the way that Arsenal play. This is in the first minute, and you can see him front-footed, steps on, he presses one, he presses the next one, forces a mistake from Saka, where Pereira picks it up, and I think he's gone for the lob and he's missed it. But Paulinho just set the tone.
Give him the benefit of the doubt.
For Fulham here. And he's just always in this position, bang, crunching tackle on Saka. And it was a theme where Robinson, who did really well against Saka today, but Saka got the better of him. And then again, it's just solid. He's just covering his fullbacks. Again, here we've highlighted him. Follows the play inside. I think that's Ben White, just big tackle on him, and then they're away again. So he's just filling in those holes. This is the other side of his game, just to show that he can play a bit as well. That's an amazing crossfield ball. So as a centre-back, you love this. I love this when you've got a midfielder that's going to fill gaps like that and make your job a lot easier. He's out again, pressing on the front foot, crashes into tackles, and he ends up getting a superb goal. It's terrible defending from Arsenal's point of view, but we can see the technique there to hit that on the first time in the 87th minute. And as I say, if it weren't for that man today, he nearly slides off the pitch with his celebration. But they don't get that point. I think he's had a cracking performance.
Yeah, well, he was player of the season for Fulham last season, and might be a nervous week this for Fulham.
You can imagine that people are looking at him and looking at that performance today and saying we might want a bit of that.
Okay, Arteta's experimenting a little bit, seems, at the start of the season. No Gabriel, it's kind of changing the defensive formation a little bit. There are Arsenal fans are wondering why, some of them.
Well, I think the why is because he wants this team and squad to improve. He now has to navigate a season where he's going to have Champions League football. He's bought new players and he's got to rotate more. If you remember last season, the team stayed very similar for a long period. So I think he's doing it with really good intention. Let's not forget today, they had 19 shots, 11 on target. 9 out of 10 times, the chances they had today, they win that game. Yeah. If it wasn't for the poor clearance from Zinchenko, then they don't draw the game. So I wouldn't panic if I were Arsenal fans. The Gabriel one it is a bit bemusing because he was so good for them last year, and he seems to be picking everybody else ahead of him. It wouldn't surprise me if we see him leaving this week.